everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Orange Zeppelin, and today I discovered that I can completely get rid of the glare normally caused by my ring light by using a piece of paper. It's amazing what technology that has existed for 1,000 years is capable of doing. But I actually have this paper down because today we are looking at the July ArtSnacks, and I know for a fact this one's gonna get a little messy, potentially. I'm expecting it to get messy. And I have said on quite a few of these that we're going to be looking at a weird assortment of products, and then usually in the end I come up with a solution for everything that ends up making perfect sense in the end. This one is, I'm still going to say this is an interesting assortment. This is a little bit of a weird assortment, but there's some really cool things that are in this box. It's just using them together, we will have to see. Now, first of all, we've got a spray bottle. This is, let's take a look at our menu. This is the Marabou Mixed Media Art Spray. So this is acrylic-based spray paint, ideal for backgrounds and stenciling, quick drying, light, fast, and waterproof. And they do tell us shake it before use. This will be interesting to experiment with. I have a couple of art friends that do a lot of more graffiti style things, and I've never really known how you can use spray cans and still have good control over anything you're doing at all. That's something that really impresses me. So we're gonna see how well that works out. Actually, I should start out. Maybe I'll start by showing you this month's sticker. We've also got some washi tape. This is fun for adding into journals or in your planners. I tend to be very, do I have any washi tape in my planner, or do I have nothing but complete and utter chaos? I don't know. I don't have any washi tape visible in this planner, but I do like using washi tape. I already have an idea of what to do with this tape, but we'll get there. This is exciting. These are, okay, Kuretake Zig Gansai Tambi watercolor pans. This is listed as a staff favorite. These are watercolors, and I have on good authority that these are really good watercolors. So this potentially is the most exciting thing that we've got in here. And so far we've got a consistent color. We've got red and red there. It's not like some of the boxes where the colors seem to just be all over the place. All right, let us bust this open. We've got a brush, which that makes perfect sense with our watercolors. Let's see, this one. This is a Princeton brand, the Angle Shader. Handcrafted and tested to assure consistent performance. Works well with watercolor, acrylic, and oils. I tend to use different brushes for acrylic and watercolor than I do for oils, just because I feel like once you've used it for oils, it's always going to have a little bit of oiliness on it. But since we have watercolors in the set, this is going to be a watercolor and acrylic brush. This is exciting because if you've watched my previous episodes, if you've heard me talk about my art making process in general at all, you know I am very fond of the Pigma Micron brushes. I'm looking around right now to see, do I have my 05 close at hand? I really should. This is actually my favorite size of the Micron. I have my 01 on hand. This is a different color though. I'm actually not sure if this is I'm assuming it is a light gray, but this is definitely one of my favorite art supplies in general. So this is exciting, and it will be interesting how a lighter color is going to work with everything. And then we also, from the Zig brand, the Kuretake Zig brush pen. This one is water-based ink, so that is going to work. That is going to work with our watercolors. So now that I'm actually looking at everything all together, this makes a little more, this actually makes a bit of sense. now that I'm looking at everything together. At first, when I opened this up, it's like, I don't know, man. We've got some pink, blue. Those are both red. We've got the white pen, and then we've got the washi tape. So that is an interesting assortment. But before I decide what kind of art I'm going to be doing with it, let's do some swatching. Alright, so I have got our little bit of water. I've got my brush soaking. Tragically, I was unable to find the stencil that I made several years ago, as that references the classic, critically acclaimed movie The Room. I was able to find the design sprayed on something, but I was not able to find the stencil. I won't be able to spray out a What Would Tommy Wiseau Do design with our spray, but I'm sure we can manage something. I think we will survive. But what we do have is the ability to use this washi tape to create a stencil. This is something I did not that long ago on one of my recent art pieces, is I did mask off the edges of my painting with some washi tape. Let's see if we can get it to actually... There we go. And the nice thing about washi tape for this kind of purpose is it's not very sticky. It doesn't really serve the purpose of actual tape. It's more for decoration. So it's better for a purpose like journaling or scrapbooking. You wouldn't want to actually tape something down or you're just going to have a bad time. But it looks pretty and it is very good for this particular application. This is also, you could also use drafting tape if you were going to, wants to tangle itself up. You could also use drafting tape to make some borders or to just tape your artwork down to the board. I once had an art teacher in college, a teacher I really, really liked. She was one of my favorite teachers. I think half the class just hated her because she would tell you how it was. She would not mince words if she said your work wasn't working, if something you did just didn't look right. She got really mad at us for not actually knowing how to properly tape our paper down to the boards we were working on, because we all kind of... Okay, we've got our wooden board, we've got our piece of paper we're working on, and I think almost all of us just took 4 little pieces of tape and taped down just the edges, and she's looking around like, oh my god, really, people? She explained, no, you gotta just get the whole strip of tape, tape your entire edges down, it's not gonna buckle. I wish I could remember that teacher's name because she really was my favorite. She had students straight up writing entire pages of complaints about her to going to the department head. And it's like, oh my god, people. I should do an art stories video about that class because it really was my favorite. Because I already said I'm going to do an art stories video about some of my least favorite art teachers. I got to talk about my favorite. Okay, so I'm not actually sure what I was doing here. You know what? I don't think we're done. I think what we gotta do... Now I gotta find the frickin' tape edge. Oh, the struggles of tape. I am going to add just like a little bit more, because I feel like if I just block all this off... We haven't created an interesting enough tape problems. You know what? I'm just going to pause and we'll come back in a bit. Alright, that is better. I want to do one more thing though, because I do want to show you guys something that I like to do in my pieces when I've got something... when I have the edges of a piece blocked out with tape like this, sometimes I like to have elements of the piece going past like the borders I've created. If I've got a portrait of a character and they're holding a weapon, I like to have the weapon going beyond like the border that I've made. And so I will cut little notches, cut little shapes out of the washi tape. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to carefully cut through. And we're going to let's try to make a nice straight line here. All right, and hopefully, there we go. That wasn't done super well. I didn't cut that quite well enough. There we go. So now, oh, my fingernails are not quite long enough to get that. Let me see. I'm going to pause and then come right back. All right, there we go. Now, let us get this nice and shaken up. What did it say? Like 30 seconds? We don't need to. 60 seconds. That's probably good enough. All right, I feel like because this is acrylic, there is a possibility this could get clogged really easily. I wonder if there's actually something I was supposed to... Nope, okay. I'm just making sure there wasn't a additional seal. All right, this... I think I've got enough paper around. This shouldn't make a massive mess. It could explode, I don't know. Let's just see what happens. Oh, here we go. All right, okay, I like our spray painty aesthetic going on here. This would be nice even just for creating, in fact, I'm going to spray over here just a light spray from far away. That can do some really interesting things in the background. So I think we've got quite a interesting potential here. I'm going to let this dry for a little bit, and then we will come right back. Okay, I think that is as much patience as I have. It looks like our paper looks more or less dry. This is still a little wet, and our spray is pooling a little bit on the tape, but I don't think that should be too much of a problem. And if it is, we'll just be finding out in a second here. All right. That kind of, and this could just be my own fault here. I could have sprayed too much. But it does look like it kind of went under my tape. So we could do a second test, because this didn't exactly work the way I wanted it to. But actually, maybe drafting tape would be better, because I think washi tape, I don't know, I've had this work fine for watercolor purposes. So maybe the spray, maybe this and the spray isn't necessarily the best combination. It's still, we still have modern art here. This is, we've definitely got something aesthetically pretty neat going on. I know my fingers are a little sticky, but you know what? I think that's pretty cool. Even though if it wasn't just perfectly clean. Let's actually do another test, and this time we're gonna see how this reacts to the watercolors. And then this will also allow us to do some swatching on our watercolors, which I'm very fond of watercolors. I haven't done watercolor work in a little while though, so this is gonna be a good excuse. Let's press this down really well, because it's possible I just didn't stick it down as much as I should have. All right, let's get our pile of tape out of the way. I have contemplated maybe adjusting my desk so it isn't at a slant, because I absolutely can get this at a flat, completely flat, rather than the slant it's at, but I don't know, I'm so used to it being slanted. All right, let us take a look at, actually I'm going to get a little more water, and first thing I'm going to test Are there specific color names? Let's see. I don't remember where I put the menu. I don't know. We're just gonna say vermilion because I don't know where the menu went now. Okay, that's a nice bold orangey color. I like that. Let's get a little more water though, because I still feel like not quite wet enough. There we go. I like the pigment here. This is a really bold pigment. It's not, some watercolors, it just feels like everything's super light. I like watercolors that have bold colors because I usually use them for bold colors. All right, let's check out our blue. We've got a nice kind of ultramarine color. And I'm pretty sure these are complementary colors. Let me look at my color wheel I have over here. Is that? Yeah, kind of complementary. I think so. All right, so I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and then we're going to peel the tape off and see how that worked. All right, that's long enough. Let's take a look. That was a little more of a hard edge. So it could be I did a better job putting the tape down. It could also just be that the spray kind of just seeps underneath the tape, which now I kind of want to do that again as a sanity check. So give me a second. Okay, that's also as much time as my patience will allow. Let's take a look. This looks like more of a clean edge. Now there's two things, that looks like a way cleaner edge. Now there's a couple things that are different. One, I pressed down the washi tape a lot harder that time. And I didn't just completely saturate it with spray. I gave this several sprays, so that could be part of the reason that we got so feathery. But that is why we experiment before just immediately doing weird things on our final piece, which occasionally I have done. I have definitely just gone straight into doing completely weird things on my final piece, occasionally regretting it. Occasionally I look at it and say, you know what, that was a good call. All right, but we have these other two tools at our disposal. And I didn't really talk about the brush at all. This, it's a little bit of an odd shape for what I normally do, but I think the idea is that we're actually supposed to be using, let's see, I think we're trying to do something, we're supposed to do something more like that rather than, I mean, either way works perfectly fine, but I think ideally we are supposed to be using this as more of a detail brush. There's my menu. There's where it went. Does it say angle shader? So it doesn't say anything about detail. I just randomly decided to call it the detail brush. I don't know, but you can get some thinner lines here. Do I want to outline what it? No, I don't really. Do I want to just go in like that though? Let's see. Can I make a nice purple? There we go. Because this actually does follow the lines we've created with the washi tape pretty well. Need a little more water. I'm dragging a little bit. If you don't have enough water on your watercolor palette, it gets that weird sticky pull, and we need things to slide smooth like butter. There we go. That, I think, looks pretty nice on the pinkish fuchsia-y spray. But now I'm really curious exactly what we're going to get from this right here. That, opening this up, There we go. That looks like a gray. And I have used some gray pen recently to outline things. I find I like black outlines the most, but I did a piece where everything was outlined in gray, and then I went in and did a little bit of black outlining where I think it needed it, and that ended up looking pretty cool. Let's see, can you even see like the tiny little scratches I'm creating here? This though, I do like that. Even though mostly I use my black pen for outlining things. And it's that perfect size, that 05, that's my favorite to work with. Let's see, how does it look? You can kind of see it on the pink. How does it look on the more... This is still pretty wet, so that's gonna... Don't want to tear my paper. Let's just draw one clear line. Oh, that actually, it actually made the line kind of pink. Let's scribble a bit to clean that up. It actually got some pink on here. But, okay, gonna draw over watercolor. That's hard to see over the blue, so that wouldn't be the best application. I did forget this right here. Oh, I like the texture of that brush right off the bat. I like that texture. It's not the kind of brush that's overly soft. In fact, do I have on hand? I'm sure I have an overly soft brush on hand somewhere, because I was struggling with a brush just yesterday because of how soft it was. So this was not the brush I was using yesterday, but you can kind of see it's very much behaving like an actual brush, which, I mean, for a brush pen, that's not the most terrible thing in the world for it to behave like an actual brush, but it's a very, it goes down really soft, and this is more of a nice, not really springy, it's very solid, more the behavior you would expect from a felt tip marker. And let's see, this very closely matches the color of our spray, and I think this said that this is water soluble. So let us test that out. Okay, let us test that out. I'm going to go ahead and draw it straight onto what I already did there. Okay. Maybe you have to be quick about it. Maybe it's being water soluble. I don't know if I'm seeing a... It's kind of blending. I'm gonna press X to doubt that one, but I do like the pen. This is probably something that I wouldn't necessarily use for a watercolor context anyway, so I don't think that's too terrible that it... I don't know. Let's try again. Is it kind of blending? I don't know, dog. I don't think it's doing anything. But that's okay, because we've got some great watercolors. This is very interesting, and I'm always happy to get more micron. So all of this together, the big question is, how am I going to combine this into one art piece? I'm going to do some sketching, and I am going to come up with a plan. Also, if you guys are wondering if the spray bleeds, oh, absolutely it does. Alright, I am back after a break. I did some sketching. I have some energy drink that I'm drinking out of a wine glass. I think we are ready to go. So my inspiration here is a combination of things. It was both our cotton candy flavored Dum Dum Pop, and it was also this sticker of Bulma from Dragon Ball Z that I got at a local shop just the other day, and I'm letting that be my inspiration because I think we should make Bulma. I think that would be very fun. So I'm also going to try really hard not to cheat, which, if you've seen previous episodes, I define cheating as using anything outside of the box, which it says nowhere on the ArtSnacks challenge that you are not allowed to use anything outside of the box. Nowhere does it say that if you use another product, they are going to just show up to your house and shoot your kneecaps out. But I do make a cursory attempt to not use things that are outside the box. And if you know me, oh gosh, I don't know where to, there it is. Whew, had a moment of panic. Couldn't find my beloved white highlight pen. I had somebody ask what kind of highlight pen I use, and this is a Sakura Jelly Roll pen. This is the 08 size, and this is something that I really, there we go, that I really like for little white highlights. Another pen I use also, I actually got this from an ArtSnacks box, and this is the Pentel Milky brush. This goes on, not quite, you kind of have to layer this a little bit. It goes on a little more painterly, but these are my two beloved highlight pens, and we'll see if I manage to hold back the urge to use those. We'll also see if I hold back the urge to use one of my black micron pens. Again, my favorite size, 05, just like what they gave me in the box. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some sketching. I'm going to do some sketching off camera, and then I'm going to I'm going to outline it with this. That'll be a little interesting because this is not going to look a whole lot different than the actual pencil work, but I do want to make sure my pencils are erased all the way, because when I go in with my watercolors, that could potentially get very smeary and smudgy, and we don't want Bulma to look smeary and smudgy and swampy. We want her to look lovely. So, oh my goodness, a finished sketch has just appeared out of nowhere, miraculously. I did that off camera because I'm not only trying to do anime, which I'm not very good at, but I'm also trying to emulate Akira Toriyama's art style, which I absolutely love, but I am historically not very good at emulating. Though, if you saw the ArtSnacks video where I drew Goku, that was the best damn Goku I have ever drawn, and I'm actually pretty happy how this turned out also. And this is also a perfect opportunity for me to complain about something. So this Dragon Ball volume that I have had for quite a long time. I remember this was going to be a good volume for me to reference for drawing Bulma, and of course I was reminded of something that brought me unparalleled rage when I brought this home and started reading it. Some scoundrel in the bookstore went through this, and they absconded with pages. They ripped pages out of this. And, of course, it is the page where Bulma gets motorboated by Master Roshi. So some degenerate pervert mangled this manga, and I am still really mad about it. There is a page in here where you can tell that they started to rip it out. And it's like, oh my goodness, people. No standards at all. Goodness gracious. Anyway, with that complaint out of the way, I have the sketch done. I actually used the Sumo Grip pencil that I got out of a previous ArtSnacks box. And what we're going to do, because I did start doing that ear here in this gray micron pen, it is really hard to see. Actually, you guys might be able to see a little bit. The contrast is a little higher through the camera, it seems, but it is still really hard to see where the pen ends and the pencil begins. So what I'm gonna do is hopefully not just cause so much rattling on this desk that my camera's rattling and you guys are facing some kind of, I don't know, earthquake simulator. But I'm gonna just take a little bit of this pencil off, and I have seen this. Oh, now the camera's really rattling. Here, I'm gonna hold my ring light while I do this. And maybe this will not feel like the San Andreas Fault simulation here. There we go. There we go. So, that is much lighter. I can clean that up a little bit more. There we go. And then I'm going to do a little bit of inking. It is possible that I'm just going to go back in places with one of my black pens, because I think that is going to look a lot better. I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to set this over here for the time being so I don't have that crinkling annoyance behind my paper. Alright, so we are fully inked. That actually looks pretty good. It's not so light that it's just too hard to see the line art. It would look good if we went back in with some black, but this now begs the question of what do we do with everything else in the box? And I have a pretty good idea. I think we should probably take care of the scariest thing first, which is the spray. I'm going to use that on the background, and you're probably wondering, how are you going to do that? That's an excellent question, but what I'm going to do, so I took some just really thin paper. Maybe I should have actually used thicker paper at this point. I traced over what I have already done, and I've made basically a mask here that I am going to use to cover up Bulma. I'm actually going to, I think I'm going to stick her down a little bit. This does raise the concern of basically what happened here, where our spray got under our tape. And I think the trick is just not to be really heavy-handed with the spray, which I definitely was too heavy-handed that first time. So I think I'm just going to use a tiny bit of the spray just to make it look cool. We are going to use the tape. Let me move it over here so you can see what's going on. And I do want to mask off some edges also. That wasn't a good... Okay. In fact, I think I'm going to mask some edges off before I even put this on. Okay, part of the reason I want to do this is I want to actually show off one of my techniques I use for masking off the edges of pieces. Okay, we are going to stick our tape right here, and we're not going to worry about the fact that it's overlapping some of the line art, because we will be able to deal with that. And then I'm going to mask off our side also. Alright, and now got my X-Acto knife, and what I might even do, just to make this a little bit easier to see, might trace over the tape to make it a little easier to see where we're going to be cutting. There we go. And you don't want to cut too deep because you don't really want to cut into the paper. It's not the end of the world if you do that. You don't really have to cut super deep to take care of the washi tape. But there we go. She will be overlapping. I almost want to do a line up there and have her ears coming up also. I'm trying to think, what exactly is the action plan with the spray? Because I think I don't want a solid border going all the way around her. What I want is kind of to have splatters coming off from one side. So I'm not going to do a whole lot of spraying because I know it's going to eventually just get under our mask here if I overdo it. So let's see, is this taped down enough? Does this look like... I'm gonna do an edge over here also. And let's see, I don't want any spray ending up over there. So let me grab some more paper. Alright, I got some spare newspapers out. I've scribbled out the information of this random real estate agent so you can't dox him off of his photo here. But hopefully this won't cause terrible things to happen. I don't know. I think all there is to do is just to do it. I'm gonna do the spray right now, so it's not like we make something beautiful and then I completely do a terrible job and ruin everything. I figure if I ruin everything right off the bat, you know, that's less of a tragedy. Alright, are we... I think we're as ready as we ever will be. I should have actually did a little upside down. One of the things to keep nozzles from getting clogged, I've been told you can just hold the thing upside down and spray it, and that's supposed to make sense. I don't know. Well, there's nothing to do but just to do it, so we're gonna... Okay. One of the things I should have said is I didn't actually test out how this was going to work on that paper, which I have said plenty of times. Hey, you should test all your supplies on all your different papers. Guess what I didn't do? Test it out on that paper. This is Bristol board, by the way. This is one of my favorite papers to work on. I know for a fact that our watercolors are going to work on Bristol board. I would be astonished if this did not look good on Bristol board. And I know that the Micron pens are going to work on Bristol because that's how a lot of my pieces start out. But we're going to let this dry and then we're going to come back and see what the damage is. Alright, I think we have let this dry quite long enough, so let us take a look. Let's see what the damage is. Let's see, I think that almost, there's a little bit too much space around here, but as long as things weren't complete and utter chaos, I think that's pretty good. You can see that a little bit of that spray soaked through, that's alright. This is very, very cheap paper that I used. It was really thin dollar store paper that I got for free. So that is all good. I'm actually not sure how to proceed from this point, but we have a couple options. Now, one of the options is to add an extra supply into the mix for a skin tone that I know is going to work. we might be able, can you even see the test I did? I don't know if you can see it very well. We might be able to get this to blend. Water-based ink, it's supposed to, in theory, be able to mix with water, but I didn't find that it was working super well. I was thinking that if this blended well, if we can combine it with the vermilion, we would have a very peachy skin tone, but a skin tone nonetheless. I do feel like it would be a lot safer just to cheat and add an actual skin tone. So that is one option. There is the option of outlining her with this pen to cover up the white, but I feel like I'm going to regret doing that. I feel like once she's fully colored in, that white outline's actually going to look really good. So I think I'm not gonna do that. You know what? Let's just cheat, and we're gonna add in the Prismacolor marker. And this is alcohol based, so we're not gonna run into any problems when we add in the watercolor. And the same with this spray. That is an acrylic spray. It should be perfectly waterproof, I guess, is what the kids are calling it these days. So let's add some marker. Okay, I'm glad I did that because I really like how that looks. And now that that's down, the gray outlines are starting to look even better. So from here, let's add just like a tiny little bit of the pink. A little bit on the cheeks. I don't know if I want to do a lot on her lips. In fact, that on its own, I think, is perfectly fine. Maybe I want to do the bow in pink, but I also don't have a lot that I have in mind for this vermilion orangish color, so maybe I want to do the bow in that color. Okay. All right, everything is just gonna slide down here. Let us use tape for its intended purpose. There we go. And I think I also... Okay, wait a minute. I've got some ideas here. Because I also was thinking of putting that orange on that sucker. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to start with the bow. And Bristol, at first it kind of will almost repel your watercolor. It does eventually start cooperating with you. It is just a really nice, thick paper, good for a lot of media, but it is on the glossy side. I feel like my brush is... Can you guys see? It's bent a little bit, so I'm kind of having to be careful. Okay. Is that better? I should have actually taped my whole piece down, and then I wouldn't have the buckling that I'm having. Okay, I want to let that dry just for a little bit, and then we're gonna come back and add... We're gonna do some magic, I hope. You know what? While I'm waiting for this to dry, I got out my watercolor palette, and we're going to do a little bit of work with our paint over here because I don't want my blue to be I don't want to put it down super saturated everywhere. I am going to, let's see, I'm going to dilute it a little bit, because with her hair, I don't want it to be super, super blue. Bulma's hair is not even really that shade of blue. Let's see, can I actually, I'm going to do just like a little bit of this blue, more shading than anything. Is that working? Does that look good? Let's see. I'm going to clean off my brush a bit and then just kind of use the water to see if I can't blend that out a little bit. So it looks a little bit more like shading, and then I can add that in this part of her tie. What I'm thinking is her outfit, specifically in the ears, I'm going to use a more saturated blue. And then for here, let's actually go in with her hair just a little bit. This is a little bit of a weird brush shape and the little twist there. It might have just been in the package kind of awkward, and so that's why it's got the little bend. It's annoying, but not the end of the world. We shall overcome this minor issue. This is actually looking really cool just as is. I don't normally do a really light muted color scheme, but the combination of the light colors and then the gray, it's actually looking really good. Okay, so I've got my lighter blues. Let's very, very, very carefully go in and do her eyes. There we go. All right. I was worried that if you mess that up, it's going to make her eyes look a little asymmetrical. Now, I think for the bunny costume, we want to go in less diluted. Okay, I'm going to add just like a little bit more in, just a wee bit. And what my original plan was, I was actually going to use some washi tape on this sucker here to make some stripes and then paint over that in blue. But I think the better idea, because we didn't do a whole lot with the pink pen, I'm just going to draw some stripes on, and that will get the pink pen a little more use. So, struggle more with the shape of the brush. I'm not into the brush shape. I am conclusively gonna say that, but I am very picky about my brush shapes. I only use just like completely flat or just round brushes. I don't really deviate from that, and I have specific sizes that I like to work with. So that's more of me just being stubborn. This has a very shoujo anime from the 80s vibe. It's not what I normally make at all, but it's working. Let's see. I'm going to go in just like a tiny bit more on her eyes. There we go. And then while that's drying, let us add... Can I actually even see that well? The nice thing about drawing in the stripes is I'll be able to control the contours of the stripes a lot better. It's not very easy to see, but maybe we don't. Maybe that works out just fine. There we go. All right, I think I have in fact completed the challenge. I have used both of our watercolor pigments. I have used our brush pen. The spray I managed to use without complete and utter disaster. What am I missing? The micron, and then the brush, of course. And even though I said when I opened this up it looked like a weird assortment, once again, this is not at all a weird assortment once I looked at it long enough. It seems that my weirdest assortments usually end up with me picking Dragon Ball Z characters. That's interesting. I would really like to add just a little bit of the black micron. So that means I only cheated with 2 different supplies. But like I said, I don't think the ArtSnacks police are going to come breaking down my door anytime soon. Hopefully nobody's complaining that the sucker I ended up putting in the final piece does not, in fact, match the color scheme of the sucker they gave me. If anybody's mad about that, I don't know, man. But moment of truth, we are going to peel off our washi tape. Honestly, once the washi tape is off and you see how this is sprayed on, it makes the composition a little bit weird, because what I was hoping for, I was hoping it wouldn't be just this solid block, it would be more of like a splat. So that's what I had in mind when I blocked everything out. This is more of a compositionally a little strange. I guess you could add some text in right there, get a more graphic design element, but I think I don't want to mess with it too terribly much beyond just a little bit of this. Okay, that might be as much extra as I want to add in. I think we are good at this point. I do have a little bit of... Can I cover up some of that stray line work? We can fade it a little bit, not by a whole lot. All right. I'm going to call that a very successful mission accomplished. So that is the 2 watercolor pans, this brush pen. Let's just get everything back out as one final showcase. Let's see if I can actually hold everything onto my slanted desk and not cause chaos. Is that everything? Yeah, we got our art spray, we got the brush pen, we got our watercolor pans, we got the washi tape, and of course my beloved micron pen, this one in gray. This initially looked like a weird batch when I first opened this, but these are things that I definitely see myself using. Occasionally when I open up these boxes, there will be things where it's like, I don't know when I'm ever gonna get around to using that. Occasionally there'll be something in the box that's just like absolutely awesome. Anytime you get some good watercolor pans, that's awesome. It's really the spray that's got me the most intrigued here. This is something that I would like to work with more in the future. This is something that I haven't used a lot, and I think I have potentially unlocked a lot of potential for some future art pieces. So on that note, actually, before we finish up, hopefully that doesn't stand out too much in the background. I think that looks good. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching this ArtSnacks unboxing. Please give a like if you liked the video. Dislike if you didn't like the video. Leave a comment on maybe what supply you thought was the most interesting, and I will see you in the next episode.